welcome back to the channel. You may have noticed that I've shortened the name down to Tech I Spy from the rather cumbersome Technology Investment Investigations. I thought this would be easier for everybody to recognize when these videos come around. Now, if you're new to the channel, what we do here is we specialize in SWOT analysis of companies, trying to avoid any of the financial information, just so that you've got some sort of idea of what the company is rather than being swayed by the actual value of the company. SWOT analysis, for those of you who don't know, is the strength of the company, the weakness of the company, the opportunities of the market for the company, and the threats of the market to the company. Just gives you an all-round holistic idea of whether this company or any company that we review on it is even worth looking at with regards to investing. And today I thought we'd do something rather special. Since this is a recent IPO, I thought we would look at Trump Media and Technology Group, because that's a really interesting topic. So we're going to do a quick rundown of who Donald Trump is and what his company is, just so that you've got some idea before we ignore him completely and just concentrate on what his media technology group actually is. So Donald John Trump was born in 1946 in Queens, New York City. He's an American businessman, he's a television personality, and of course he's a politician who served as the 45th President of the United States from January 2017 through to January 2021. He's considered to be a tad controversial in the world, and the reason for his interest in this company is one of the parts of it is called Truth Social, and is basically there because there's a belief amongst him and his supporters that there is a lack of credible press coverage out there. This is a phenomenon that's going on online amongst numerous countries around the world, with a lot of these kind of companies coming into being. So that's it. We're not going to talk about the politics of this anymore. We're not going to talk about him anymore unless we need to. We're just going to look at the company itself and concentrate on that. So let's crack on. So Trump Media Technology Group operates in the social media and digital platform sector. It directly competes against colossal giants such as Twitter or X, depending on what you want to call it, Facebook, and about 1,000,001 other messaging social media communication platforms that are out there. The company's main product, as already said, is a product called Truth Social, which currently positions itself as a free speech advocate in that sector. It's obviously founded by Donald Trump back in 2021, and the IPO took place very recently. The market cap currently is around $5 billion, and the share price is what it is. If you're interested in that, go look it up. It's not for me to tell you what the finances are. I'm just going to concentrate on what the actual company is. Okay. So starting off with the strengths of the company, if that's possible. Trump Media and Technology Group has several strengths that position it distinctly within this competitive landscape of media technology companies, particularly in the social media and digital communication sectors. The strengths of the company and the flagship product, Truth Social, can be discussed based on their market positioning, technological aspects, and strategic initiatives. The primary strength is basically its brand identity and a certain amount of niche marketing. Truth Social has established a strong brand identity by promoting itself as a platform of free speech. This appeals to users who feel their voices are suppressed by other social media platforms due to increasing content moderation practices. By filling this niche, Trump Media targets a dedicated user base that values less restrictive communication environments. I don't know why I said environments that weirdly. Okay. Now it has some great strategic partnerships and infrastructure. It's benefited from strategic partnerships, notably with Rumble, which is a video sharing platform in the vein of YouTube. but again, considering itself to be more of a free speech platform. In April 22, True Social migrated its website and mobile applications to Rumble's cloud infrastructure, which likely enhances its operational reliability and scalability, which is essential for handling high user volumes and data traffic, which is what you'd expect as a platform like this grows essentially. The engagement and user growth, although specific user engagement metrics are closely held by the company, the launch of True Social was marked by substantial public interest in media coverage. A lot of this is down to its association with Donald Trump. This ensures it remains a focal point in discussions about social media, which is obviously going to drive curiosity and potential adoption, especially as we get close to the US presidential elections, should he actually be running fully and has kept himself out of trouble, shall we say. There's massive amounts of media coverage and publicity, and despite the innumerable decades worth of controversies surrounding Donald Trump, TMGT has managed to secure significant media attention, not just because of him, but because of what the actual brand itself is. This is obviously a double-edged sword, but looking at it from a positive media coverage concept, the focus on its role in diversifying the social media ecosystem provides alternative to the mainstream and legacy platforms which are out there. Obviously, this is good for a certain amount of growth. Where there's sustained growth, that's always going to be seen. Potentially, this company eventually will be either fall flat on its face or be swallowed up by larger companies as time goes on. The company's had some great positive press, depending on which press you're looking at. The launch of True Social was highly publicised. Obviously, it would be because how many presidents out there start for their own tech company, essentially, especially one of Donald Trump's age. The platform quickly attracted a large number of sign-ups. I wonder how many of them were actually press just going in there just for the sake of actually having access to it. It allegedly has innovative features and user experience. The reports from users and tech analysts occasionally highlight the platform's user-friendly design and the features that promote open discourse without heavy moderation. This gives it an aspect of social service, a service that's frequently cited in wider discussions about the need for varied social media environments that respect different views and contents of freedom. It's an interesting one. Going on the website itself, and I'm not going to show it here, it's where you go on other social media sites, you're literally just taken straight into it and you don't have to sign up straight away, or it shows itself off. It shows the technology off constantly. This one doesn't. This is just everything else. It's easier to access the information on investment and where to pay and things like that than it is to actually see images of what this is. And the images I have seen make it look like Facebook. It's hard for me to kind of discern whether I actually like this or not based on the product itself, let alone the other products, because it just dominates through True Social rather than anything else it's doing. So do I think this is a great tech company? I think this is an average tech company. At best, it's competent. It's probably got a great deal of technical expertise behind it, but I don't think there's anything hugely amazing there. All its strengths are in the branding and in the people that are going to be using it, and any advertisers that are interested in that going forward, basically. The actual products and services that they sell, it's obviously primarily a digital communications platform, so True Social being the flagship. It's similar to Twitter, although that's how it's advertised, and they, rather than doing tweets, they refer to them as truths. Very kind of American. I'm surprised it doesn't scream freedom as soon as you open it up. It might be a good idea for them. Freedom emojis. But the company's other products that it's hoping to put forward is a planned subscription-based video streaming service called TMTG Plus. This is a complement to True Social that I would imagine will be similar to YouTube, although I can't imagine it will be as fun or interesting if it's as political as it's planned to be. But you never know, it could be something great, and I think there are other people doing similar kind of video sharing networks that are doing it better, that aren't specialists around one person and one particular view. So weaknesses, this is where it gets really interesting. Trump's been around for a very, very long time, and this company, if it's just trading on his name, is going to have problems. But the actual company itself has some other issues which is going to cause tight bottoms when it comes to investing in it. There are reported platform stability and technical issues. Since its launch, True Social has encountered some technical difficulties, which I'll allow, because technology is incredibly difficult when you're starting off and putting one of these things out there. But this is a $1 billion investment company, and I would expect these to be resolved quite quickly. So if they're still around 12 months, then if I were to do a follow-up review, then this is where I'm going to come down hardest on it. These are hiccups, basically, and they're going to frustrate users at the beginning, but I think that the dedicated fan base and niche market behind it will stick with it for the time being. The other problems and weaknesses that are more of a worry in the short term are things like executive turnover. Allegedly, there's been a significant executive turnover, including the departure of key personnel soon after the platform's launch. That might just mean they were brought in just to kind of get the thing started, and they're always going to leave. It's hard to see behind the company smokescreen as to what the office environment is like, and I would hope that there's not too many problems there. But it's certainly, once you start seeing leadership and technical experts kind of to go, well, I'm done now, I'm going to move on to the next thing, so early on, I do get worried, definitely. Of course, there's always going to be things like financial transparency and stability. Very worrying when it comes to a tech company that it's not able to kind of give a huge amount of financial data, but it is a very young company. But the lack of transparency is a red flag for me if I'm going to put my money into it. I want to know that the company, the money's been used wisely, and it's been used for that and not for any other factor. I'm not supporting holidays abroad or jollies or anything like that. It's just going into the company that I'm paying for. If you look at any of my other videos over the past couple of years, you'll know that I'm particularly annoyed when profits are used from one company to basically bail out another part of the owner's wide network of companies, because I think it dilutes the efforts that company that I'm interested in has created, and it dilutes the ability of that company to progress forward. Now, the other weaknesses, the rather obvious limited user base. It's a niche company. It belongs in a particular part of the United States. I can't imagine anybody else around the world would be interested in it, apart from people who are fans of American politics and a particular brand of American politics. It's basically going to have a very limited shelf life in that respect, since politics changes anyway. And the niche on free speech, brilliant, love it. But for me, free speech is entirely about being respectful and honest, rather than being insulting and degrading, and allowing your stuff to be checked by other people. Everything you do needs to be, I mean, it comes from academic background. Everything you do has to be proofed. There has to be an ability for somebody else to come along and say, you're probably wrong about this, you're probably right about that, here's the proof, here's the evidence. I don't know how much of that is going to be in Truth Social, and whether it would be accepted by people who don't like evidence being presented to them. If it's one of these companies that definitely believes in what it does, fantastic. I look forward to it. But if it becomes a company where it's our truth and not yours, it probably wouldn't be something I would be interested in subscribing to, let alone investing in. And one of the big problems when you're in that type of political arena is you're going to have heavy regulatory oversight and legal risks that go with it. Everything from basic libel laws being breached constantly, through to numerous other potential scandals that could go with social media companies. They're very heavily scrutinized, if not heavily regulated, and I don't think this company is going to be any different. The stance it has on minimal content moderation, which is what I've been talking about when it comes to evidence-based stuff, could destroy not only the company but the users that are within there. The company is not going to protect users. Most of them don't. If you've gone on there and you said something stupid or naughty, I don't think they're going to kind of send lawyers around your house to look after you. I think basically they're just going to leave you out in the wind, and they'll take the hit themselves if they need to. Very big weaknesses, and it certainly highlights areas in which I would like the company to concentrate on and fine-tune over the next year or two before I would consider it being a reliable player in the market. At the moment it's just trading on one name, and it could do better. There's always room for new social media that's interesting, because the algorithm always works on all of these, all work in the same way, where you're linked in with certain people because of interests you've got. When it's new, that algorithm hasn't had a chance to even get to know you, and so you can get to meet new people, you get to talk to new people, you get to find new ideas, and I think that's always a wonderful thing. But it's got to be with a certain amount of protection. There's nothing worse than being stuck on a social media account with people that are essentially insane, people who don't have your interests at heart, people who basically just want to sell you stuff that you don't want, and is going to be a load of crap. Most people on social media are going to be very vulnerable to essentially what would be door knocking, and nobody likes a cold caller. But who knows, they might be able to put it all together, and they might be able to make this a genuine rival to other companies. Now, this is a hard market to kind of get your head around, since if you think about what social media is, it's just a very small bit of software on a server somewhere that you basically log into as an account. Photos, media, videos, music, ideas, communication, all goes back and forwards between those two and then onto other people. It's interesting stuff. And the market is growing as more and more people pick up mobile phone devices. There's always a new generation coming in every year. There are new markets opening up across the world. It's going to be a growing demand for social media and alternatives to basically what their parents were on. Facebook is already considered to be ancient. Twitter is revitalized genuinely, even though it is basically a place where you go to argue. Now, I don't know if any other country around the world has a thing called Speaker's Corner, but in this country we have, in the UK, in London, there's a place called Speaker's Corner where legally people can go there and just debate each other, and it's considered to be respectful, and there's never been any violence down there, bizarrely. People will go there, stand on soapboxes and utter profanities to one another, insult one another, but it becomes a debate, and it becomes a place where people kind of tear each other apart and put each other back together again. It's a wonderful thing, and that's basically what X is. There isn't many social media platforms that are in that situation because of legal frameworks and AIs now that are built into them to moderate content behavior and how we basically talk to each other, the insults, the use of history, the use of language to leverage ideas and communication. But this move towards a need for freedom of speech is it's something to do with certain demographics, but I think every type of demographic, male, female, different races, different religions, different sexualities, all have their own idea of what they want speech to be around them and how they're viewed by the rest of the world. I think all of them have some niche and some social media platform that provides that niche for them. It's a trend that different companies try to exploit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I don't think there's a generalist out there that actually covers everybody. Even the largest companies struggle to even get close to that. I don't think it's ever going to be possible for a single social media company to be a generalist in any way, shape or form. There's a diversification between how these are funded. Some social media companies are subscription based, some are advertising based, some pay people to put content on there, some reward in other ways. It's a very, very big mixed bag of things out there, but it is a growing industry, and that's the main thing that I think we need to consider here. The problem with that is how that's done. Now, looking at it from a threats point of view to the company from the market, it's simply that this diversity of social media platforms is so large. There is so little advertising money to go around that the costs of maintaining the servers needed for it, if you don't own those servers, is going to be exponential. This company is no different. It's going to, the whole industry is in a constant state of flux. There's only a handful of big ones in there, but even the very first generation of them, most people have forgotten about. They predated Facebook, they predated Twitter, they predated YouTube. Although these are the big ones, it's only because they're owned by bigger companies or individuals with lots and lots of money in their pockets. But genuinely, you go back on the internet and look, there are companies I can't remember the name of that predated these, that did very similar things. It's the difference between them can be a colour of a button, or the ease of access to get to a particular messaging state, or photo sharing state, or any of these things, how things are stored. The differences can be so minute that it can completely destabilize whether a company is able to maintain profit for long. And I think that's where the problems lie for Trump media. I think the advertising space is going to wear it down. It's going to struggle to keep going if he doesn't have access to sufficient investment to keep this going, and he's not able to kind of bring it in from anywhere else. That's where it's going to be a problem. Social media is a big thing, but it is not everything, and it is limited in the scope of what it produces. It can't be used for something else, and the content tends to disappear within a couple of days. It isn't a big library in that respect. There aren't many of them where you can go and look for content from years ago. I think the only one that I can think of is probably video streaming, but because video is a very different thing to a message, to a news report, or anything of that respect. And I think a lot of things like Twitter and Facebook are just used as advertisements, or just a way of people talking then and there to each other rather than it being anything else. But yeah, it's interesting. I think so. I think there's the threats to Trump's media from not being able to be more than it is going to be its biggest issue, if that makes sense. The single biggest thing that is a threat from externally to the company for its products and people taking it out to them is actually Donald Trump. He's an incredibly polarizing figure. I completely understand why he's into this. This is something that probably should have been done years ago. I think it would have worked out better in his favor, but doing it at this point, given his legal and political controversies and activities that are affecting him, will lead to boycotts and advertiser pullouts, and it will make the financial volatility that much worse in the company. But those who love Trump, who believe in what he's doing and what he stands for, I think will pour in between now and the 2024 election. If he doesn't win the election, if he's not able to run the election, then I think we're going to see a huge drop-off of people being interested in it. And hopefully he accepts that, not in respect of accepting defeat, but in the fact that it's a potential problem that's there on the horizon for him. So, pros and cons conclusion. It has great niche market appeal, which gives a solid singular fan base, which would probably stick with it till the day they die. Has incredible brand recognition. Don't think there's anybody on the planet who hasn't heard of Donald Trump. And having Trump's name on a lot of things basically has been incredibly successful for him over the past few decades. And there is some expansion opportunities, but only moving into other types of social media, as in the streaming services and things like that. But I don't think that there's going to be anything beyond that exactly. Technically competent, although nothing distinctive from any other group. Hopefully the bugs will be cleaned out of the system within the next 12 months. Obviously there's the cons to all that. Incredible amount of competition. It's like holding a stall within a market where there's 1,000 stalls. He's going to struggle to get it heard. It's just his name that's carrying it forward. Nobody would be interested in this if it didn't have the Trump name against it. That's the simple truth behind it. If he can't maintain the finances behind it, he's going to struggle with the operational and technical challenges that all social media companies have with regards to server operations and financing, as well as being able to keep up with the constant turnover of security and systematic protocols that go into any kind of website or app management system, basically. He's also going to be kicked in the teeth by the regulatory and legal risks. These are going to go up and down with different governments, and somebody with his name in America especially is going to be affected more than most, with his company basically being the one that everybody tries to shut down, I would imagine. He has some definite political enemies in the States, and they're going to be very happy to watch him fail. And I guarantee that people will be petty enough to actually make that happen one way or another. Obviously that then leads to the financial uncertainty surrounding whether investing in the company is even worth it. So when it comes to whether you should consider it, whether you should consider investing in Donald Trump, well, not Donald Trump, but Trump Media Technology Group, it's going to be incredibly high risk, but potentially high reward opportunity. You're going to have to weigh up the unique nature of what this company is. There aren't many companies out there that have such a incredibly high profile figurehead running them, and yet it's so niche at the same time. There aren't two sets of people going on this who want to haggle with each other and argue with each other in the same way you have on Twitter. You don't have people wanting to go on there to make money and run businesses the same way you have on YouTube. This is genuinely where people are going to promote a certain idea, and that's the idea for them is truth. I don't know how that plays out. I don't know how that affects the markets, but I do know it makes this very, very volatile. So if you are going to invest, be ready for one hell of a ride. Okay, yes, again, I've made this half an hour rather than 20 minutes, which I expected, but Donald Trump is a very interesting person, and I think he's created an interesting company here amongst a plethora of other interesting companies. He is a very successful businessman, regardless of what you think of him and his politics and his ethics. I think investing is down to you to research. Getting around the politics of this gentleman and his companies is always interesting, but that's why I put these on here, is for you to consider the pros and the cons through the SWOT analysis to decide whether it's actually worth having a look at properly. Yeah, go on his website, download it, see what you think before you invest, and then it's up to you, entirely up to you. So until next time, ta-ta for now.